I want to ask you just about you personally, how you handle things, because you are here at this D6 conference, which is a little out of the element. I was reading a book not too long ago where it talked about, like, with introverts, that basically if you don't want to do something, if you're not comfortable doing something, then you don't need to do it. Like, there was no idea, no thought of pushing yourself or stepping out of your comfort zone. It was just like, if you feel the slightest bit of discomfort, don't do it.
Yeah.
And even like down to like work and parenting, and it was way over the top. For you personally, how do you decide when to kind of step out and kind of embrace the other side of things, and when you need to kind of rein it back in?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is just praying through it. You know, when I got the invitation to come, I prayed about it, and I really felt like God was saying, you're supposed to be there. So I was like, okay, so I think that's part of it. I know it's not always super clear, but I think we start there. And then I think saying, is doing this part of what I know to be God's bigger purpose for my life? And so I know that communicating about introverts, supporting them, is part of what He's inviting me to do in this season. So if there's that purpose and mission alignment, then I think, okay, it's worth it. And also, this is a contained amount of time. You know, we're going to be here together a few days. I couldn't live here, you know?
Yeah.
And so that too, I think, saying, okay, is there a time limit that I can go and do this and then go back and be restored? And I'm a runner. I use that very loosely. I'm not a great runner or a graceful runner. But this morning I was thinking, okay, this is like going for a hard run, which is good for me. Like, I did one yesterday before I left home. Like, that's challenging. Will there be some discomfort? Yes. Will it also be exhilarating? Yes. But we have to know when it's a challenging run and when we are going so hard we're pushing ourselves to a place where we get injured. And that's what burnout is. It's emotional injury. It's not challenging ourselves because God has invited us out of our comfort zone. It's consistently living in a way that is damaging to who we are over time. And so I think that's important to know, to say, is what I'm taking on, is this a great challenge for me? Is it going to help me grow? Is it going to serve people? Is it in alignment with who God made me? Or am I doing something in a way that is actually starting to injure me, injure my family, injure my ministry, where I need to pause and say, how can I do this a little differently?
Now, we discussed this a little bit in our previous interview, but one of the struggles in being an introvert in an extroverted society is that we often feel shame and guilt for not being more, for not being as charismatic and high energy as other ministers or staff members. What do we do with those feelings of inadequacy?
Yeah, I think that is a struggle for a lot of introverts. And I think recognizing our God-given strengths is part of what counters that. So, for example, introverts are great listeners. The world can't be full of all talkers. And so often we are the one to say in a crowded room, okay, I notice that person who's hurting. I notice that person who maybe feels a little left out. Let me go connect with them. A 10-year leadership study of CEOs showed introverts slightly outperformed extroverts, which is surprising. But we tend to have a kind of leadership that is supportive. We lead from behind instead of in front. And I think that's something in our world that we need. And I love extroverts. So many of them are fantastic leaders. So extroverts, we love you. Keep doing what you're doing. But introverts know that we need your humility, we need your intentionality, we need your reflectiveness, we need your ability to listen well, we need your ability to live out of who you are. Otherwise, our world is out of balance. And so I think it's just remembering that we have a lot of strengths that our world actually really needs.
Well, if we feel like we are traveling down that road toward burnout, what are some practical things that we can do to protect ourselves so that we can thrive for the long haul?
Yeah. One super practical tool that I recommend to people is an energy audit. And so you're going to write down everything you do in a given day or a week, however long you want to do it. Put a plus by what energizes you, a minus by what drains you, and a question mark if you're not sure. And we're all going to have minuses. That's not the purpose. But if you are looking at 15 minuses and 2 pluses, then it's time to say, what do I do about that? So as we find those minuses, we can say, can I eliminate this? Does it even need to be done? Have I taken on something God never asked me to? If I can't eliminate it, can I delegate it? Is there someone else who's better equipped to do this than I am? If I can't eliminate or delegate it, can I minimize it? Can I do it less? Or if that's not possible, how do I have a strategy for it? So I think it's about getting really intentional about where our energy is going. That's always going to be a big concern for introverts, is how do I manage my energy? And that can be a really practical way to start just getting an awareness of where your energy is going and where you might want to make some changes.